Hey everyone. Moore's Law, we all know what it's about. Every 2 years, computing power doubles, more or less. That law has stayed true for the last 40 years, except lately something has not. Can you think of what has not obeyed Moore's Law? Think about it. It's actually gone down the last couple years, significantly. I'm here to tell you what it is. It's text input efficiency. We started out with quills and ink, and then we figured out how to make typewriters. Things got electronic with computers. And then in the last few years, whoosh, we went down and started typing on tablets. If you've tried typing something long on a tablet, like an email, you've probably had this experience. Well, it turns out I know a little bit about this, and I think I can help. First of all, I spent about 20 years helping people with disabilities who can't use a keyboard because they can't use their hands to enter text on computers. Today, we have the reverse. We have people who can use their hands, but there's no keyboard. So a lot of things we did for people with disabilities can be applied. I want you to introduce to my friend Swype at the top. That's 1987. We built a computer for Cy that he can enter text by touching a switch with his lip. And one of the first things that Cy typed once he had this liberation was he asked me the question, who are you going to help next? Cy was an incredible giving guy. And that question has defined my career. Lots of thousands of people with disabilities. Then along the way, we decided to scale. And we spun out something called Swype. You might have heard of it. Text input on Android devices where you slide your finger from letter to letter. Over 400 million installations to date. I'm the original inventor and co-founder of Swype. So what Swype did for smartphones, Dryft does for tablets. It's natural typing on the screen of tablets, and I want to show it to you. This is Scott. He's going to be playing keyboard today. If we could switch over to the doc cam. Scott, take it away. Whoa, what's going on there? The on-screen keyboard is moving under his fingers. Why would you want an on-screen keyboard to move? Shouldn't it sit there so you can type on it? Well, let me explain it to you. This is the first innovation that makes Dryft work. When you type on a mechanical keyboard, like all of you are out there right now, you can feel those keys under your fingers. There's tactile feel. On the glass surface of a tablet, you cannot feel keys. You can't feel those little nubs on the J and the F keys. So we solved that problem. Instead of making the user move their fingers to the keys, we move the keys to their fingers. So they don't have to feel them. They're just there. The home row forms underneath Scott's fingers. Second innovation. If we're going to let people rest their fingers and move the keyboard on the screen, how are we going to determine when they're typing? Well, it turns out when you type, you thump on the screen. That thumping makes a vibration. We sense that vibration with the accelerometer sensor. So we use two sensors, the touch sensor and the accelerometer. That's the second innovation. Scott's going to demonstrate that. He's resting his right hand, and he's tapping with his left. And it's determining the taps versus the rests. We do that with the accelerometer. Okay, Scott, let's show these guys how this thing can really fly. Type something cool. All right. Everybody in favor of that notion? Yeah, I think so. So Scott's typing on this about 50, 60 words a minute right now. I know he can go much faster. It's totally cool to me just to see him be able to do that much. We're 3 months into this project, and I know we can go much faster. If we can switch back to the slides, please. So is this relevant? Yes. What we do is combine two sensors, touch and tap. That's what makes Dryft and gives it some magic. Turns out 96% of people out there can type without looking. They have some form of memory typing. You don't have to be 10-finger typist to use Dryft. You can be 2-finger, 4-finger. 96% of people can type without looking at the keys to some form. Those people are who Dryft are for. I'd like to introduce you to my co-founder, Rob Czaplinski.
Thank you. Thanks, Randy. Hi, my name is Rob Czaplinski. I'm co-founder of Dryft, also managing partner of BridgeScale. I first met Randy when I invested in Swype, and I was really excited when he approached me later with this innovation we call Dryft, because I knew it was going to be really disruptive for tablets. So not only did I invest, I've signed up to help him grow this company. We launched this on Monday. Thank you to TechCrunch. We've got a phenomenal amount of feedback and sign-ups for our early testing. And we're even helping Fabio here by answering his prayers. But basically, our business model is going to be very similar to what we did at Swype. How are we going to get this to hundreds of millions of users? We're going to license this to OEMs directly so they can embed it in the keyboard, but we know that's going to take time. We also are going to embed this into applications and offer to you, application developers, to embed this nice dynamic keyboard into your app. Some people ask us, what's the relative performance of Dryft? We're estimating today we're about 2x the performance of today's tablet solutions, and the algorithm is getting better and better. But why is this disruptive? We all know tablets are exploding in the consumer market. But surprisingly, the notebook market isn't dead. In fact, it's expected to grow. We actually think that could dramatically change, and we think Dryft can be that final nail in the notebook coffin and really excel the growth of tablets into the enterprise. But what really makes this exciting for Randy and I, if you think about what he's done with Swype, is how Dryft can impact the lives of everybody for any type of enterprise application in the field and in the school. And we're really excited to bring Dryft to you. Thank you so much.
All right.
Can we try it? Can we?
Yeah, sure. Two things I want to tell you. Your fingers aren't used to typing on glass, so you're going to go through a learning curve. And Scott will explain how to use it.
So what is the typical learning curve?
It's like 15 minutes. It's not days. You know, your fingers can adapt pretty quick. When you get a new keyboard, you know, you buy a new laptop, quite often you kind of get used to the keyboard. First thing you have to do is learn to trust that the keys are there because you can't feel them. So it lets you type naturally, but your fingers have to get used to doing that.
So Swype was acquired by Nuance, is that right?
Yes.
How was that as a business before it was acquired? I mean, was it difficult to make these deals with OEMs?
Well, we had about 11 large licensees. Back then, the OEM market was a little more complex than it is today, if you can imagine. And those deals took a little bit of time. We are in the 20 million unit volume shipments at that time. It's ramped significantly since then.
I think it was not easy. You got to work hard for those OEM agreements. But in the end, it was the usefulness and accuracy of the product that convinced them. They went through pretty thorough evaluations, and in the end, they chose Swype.
So I'm a big fan of Swype and SwiftKey. I have them on my phone. Why can't you do that on the tablet? Like, why isn't that a better experience? What evidence do you have that this feels better?
You can. You can swipe on tablets. It works fine. It tops out for most users around 40, 45 words a minute.
Got it.
And if you're a 10-finger typer, you're probably going faster than that. So you can enter text, but if you want to keep those hard-earned typing skills that you learned over the last 20 years, Dryft will let you do that. That's the difference.
Got it.
I mean, I think it's pretty clear that input methods on the tablet have to get faster, and this looks like a great method. I think the UI and the attention to detail is great. But I guess, what are some of the things that you would think about in terms of comparing it to voice? Because voice input, I think a lot of people can talk much faster than they can type.
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
So voice really accelerates in terms of how accurate it is.
Absolutely.
It's something that really could cause the market to shift dramatically in that direction.
Yeah. Dryft is not a replacement for voice. Voice has been, the holy grail for text input. Lots of good work being done on that. We're not seeking to try to displace voice. There are dozens and dozens of situations where voice is not viable. You can't voice dictate notes when you're in a classroom. You're on a noisy bus and it won't work. You're in a doctor's office and you have to dictate notes about your patient. There's a million ways that voice just isn't appropriate in that circumstance, even if it's working 100% well.
Well, as they play with it down there, I don't know if you guys are still messing with it, anyway. But oh no, you're not. But so, when I started playing with it, I immediately was typing pretty fast, like way faster than I would ever type on a tablet. Not as fast as I would type on a regular keyboard, but definitely the best tablet typing experience I've had ever. So
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I think what we've found, and this is 3 months. I mean, we're 3 months into this, so this is pretty new. But our internal testing is if you're typing on a tablet at 1x, Dryft is about 2x, and your regular keyboard experience is about 3x. So we're about in the middle. My goal is to make it 3.5x. I don't want to just make you as fast as a keyboard. I think we can get you faster because you don't have to be so accurate. You can be a lot looser about your typing if we get this algorithm tuned the way I think we can.
So do you have any third-party applications that have decided to embrace your technology?
We're still early, Roloff. We're getting responses. We really kept this under wraps until Monday.
Okay.
The feedback has been phenomenal. We opened up an SDK sign up on our website. Spectacular demand, but we're still early. We're just getting going on that. Until we be more confident on it, we'll be ready to really integrate with them. But I want to say we're going to support all operating systems. Today we're demoing it mainly on Android because you can't get into the input panel of the Apple device. So application developers look at it and say, hey, I'll just embed it in an application for the iOS. That's why we also have that option.
But I have to say our very first prototype was on an iPad. So we have this running on both platforms. We're showing it on Android because it can be an input panel on the Android.
how much did Nuance pay for Swype?
We can't disclose that, unfortunately.
What was the reported amount?
I think it was reported to be 100 million. Does that sound right?
Yeah, just over
In that range, yeah.
So you're hoping to flip this to Nuance or someone like that again for that amount? Is that just sort of?
I don't want to flip it. I want to build this thing. I really believe this vision that our future is going to go from this paradigm of keyboard and mouse to surfaces. Tablets are just a foreshadowing of that future. And you look out in this room, there's people there trying to use their tablets and they have these Bluetooth keyboards hooked up to them. That's the market saying, I want to use my tablet as a text input device, but it sucks right now. So I want to make that future real. I think we can get typing on surfaces and change the 150-year history of typing on mechanical keys and actually finally move into something more modern, which is surfaces.
So how do you price this product?
How do we price it?
Yeah, to OEMs, you try to sell it, but there's only 3. So presumably you don't have a lot of pricing power. And then application developers, there's lots of, and perhaps you can create a race condition where if an app doesn't have it, but the other app that competes with it does, all the users find it impossible, over time to use the apps that don't have it. So how do you think about the economics of this business?
Yeah, well, we can look at the Swype model and use it as a template, and that was a licensing per unit number, dollars per ASP or something. We're going to certainly look at that. We're still early. On the application licensing part, we'll probably have to come up with something a little more innovative, particularly the smaller companies.
Something that's important to realize about Dryft, it's a human-computer interface solution, which by default requires hardware. This isn't an app store thing. We use that accelerometer. We need every sample bit we can get out of that. We need touch sensors that are sensing above the surface. So whenever you do human-computer interface, it's a very hardware-dependent thing. And so I don't foresee this as being some app store app that'll just run on any tablet. It needs to be integrated at the hardware level, and so the OEM business model is what makes sense.
In fact, some of the meetings we've had at this show with the large OEMs, it was exciting to see the level of innovation they think they can bring to Dryft that's underneath their
Sure, but it usually comes with an acquisition offer.
Well, all I can say is thanks to TechCrunch, I had to change my flights, and I have some meetings set up this week.
So you are going to flip this as soon as you possibly can.
I'll tell you what I want to do. I want to beat what Swype did. Okay, so that might take some time.
Which is you flipped.
Oh, we ran it out for 3 years. We were offered early flipping opportunities, and we said no. We're going to run this out, and so we did.
The problem with Swype, it took too much money. And as Doug Leone told us yesterday, he says, you don't need a lot of money in this business. And the problem with Swype, we had Docomo, Nokia, Motorola, Samsung, all investing. And I think we're just going to have to run this one a little bit leaner.
Judges, what would your primary concerns be if you were thinking about investing in this? Okay.
Well,
I would say that it would be, is something leapfrog this, right? Is there something that's the right answer that is a little bit beyond this? This is clearly great. It's clearly better than what we have now. But it's still, this is a big problem, and this doesn't feel like the end-all answer to me. That would be my concern.
Yeah, especially if you license this, let's say to Android, then Apple, will try to figure out something that makes keypads, seem archaic, and does that cut off your sort of long-term vision?
Yeah, I'll tell you, in technology, you got to hustle. So I agree with you, Michael. And the way to not get leapfrogged is leapfrog yourself. We've got MIT PhDs working for us. I just surround ourselves with really smart guys, and we try hard to stay ahead. I think it's important to know that we have 2 patents issued already. I started thinking about this 5 years ago, before tablets even existed. And so those patents are in place. We have several more pending. So, I think we're ahead. And to stay there just means hard work, and we've done that.
How would you say the OEM ecosystem has changed? Obviously, it's consolidated, but how receptive they are, eager they are to doing something. It sounds like you're doing the solution where it's tied to the hardware, where maybe, I know Google now releases the keyboard separately from the OS, which is different than when Swype was initially released. How does that change? Are OEMs actually more eager to have this kind of tight coupling between the keyboard and the hardware to differentiate themselves from every other Android tablet out there?
Yeah, I've got an opinion about that. I've been talking to these OEMs, and they're hardware makers, right? And so they put in the latest, greatest new stuff, and then they hope somebody's going to use it to do something cool. So we're in the hall talking to those OEMs about what's coming down the pipe and how we could use it. Here's what's cool about Dryft. We're not reinventing language models. We already did that. In fact, we literally did that in the early 90s for people with disabilities. We wrote the first word prediction software. Lots of really good work has been done on that. We're not reinventing it. Here's the problem with autocorrect. It's garbage in, garbage out. You're getting really inaccurate input. So what Dryft does is cleans up that front end. So we can do that with this new world of sensors. We're not just dealing with a touch sensor anymore. We're dealing with 3D touch sensors. We're dealing with accelerometers. So I think they're excited to see where can we take this? How can you make this new hardware really sing? And that's what I can't wait to do.
Cool. We're out of time. That was Dryft. Thank you guys very much.
Thank you.